Representative Redman, you're in here for the third time. I think you're the first rep this legislative session to come in 3 times. God bless you, sir.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm glad to be back. Yeah, it's something.
Well, for all of the people that want to say I'm a hardcore righty, that's food for grist for the mill. There you go.
There you go.
But unfortunately for them, I think Representative Alana Rubel is coming in after you. So for all the people that want to say I'm a hardcore lefty, they get grist for the mill. Totally. Like, there's no winning. I'm just a dude with a bad hat and a hoodie.
No, I think it's good. You have a lot of perspectives, right? Yeah. And I actually love Alana. I mean, we don't totally agree on a lot of things, but I love Alana. So
I have yet to meet somebody from the legislature where I'm like, I don't like that person. Everyone, I'm like, dude, I really like this person. Do I agree with everybody? No. Yeah. I mean, predominantly because people are, I think, for the most part, like, people are part of parties, and like, part of parties comes to obligation. It's like, whatever, man. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's the tribalism in us.
It happens, man. Yeah. Okay, so listen, thank you for coming in. I know you don't have a ton of time. Let's hit it hard. Let's first recap on last time we talked about Medicaid Expansion Reform, and then the SNAP program, and then welfare for illegal immigrants. Talk to me about welfare expansion reform.
You bet. So Medicaid.
Yes, excuse me, not welfare. Yes, Medicaid Expansion Reform.
Yeah, you bet. So Medicaid, we had the House Bill 138, passed it through Health and Welfare in the House over our floor, and then we brought it over to the Senate, and then met with Senate leadership, the chairman, John Vanderwater, and myself, and we found that there were some pieces, through debate that they were going to be worried about, and we didn't know if we were going to get a hearing. So we kind of went back to the drawing board, pulled out the pieces that they were more concerned about, which was the cap of 50,000 people on Medicaid expansion. Okay. The lifetime benefit of 36 months, and then if the all the waivers weren't granted, the repeal of Medicaid expansion. So we pulled those out.
That means that there was no repeal if you didn't get all of your waivers. So
correct.
It's essentially like, we're going to apply for these waivers, we're going to try our best, but we're not in control of what the federal government's going to do. So we're not going to repeal it if this doesn't come through.
Exactly right.
Understood.
So we pulled those out, and then in that we added some other things that we liked. So like practice authority protections, which means that the state of Idaho gets to determine what's provided under Medicaid. We did site neutral payments, meaning that, if a hospital buys a small private practice, they can't charge the facility fee. And then we added comprehensive managed care to the plan over all of Medicaid. So the bill itself became much broader because it's dealing with all of Medicaid rather than just expansion. And we were able to pass that through the House and the Senate party line. So it's sitting on the governor's desk and ready to get signed. So.
Okay, so then what was it that the Democratic, if you're saying it's party lines, what did they dislike?
They didn't like the work requirement. We kept the work requirement in there for the expansion population. And, it was a very broad work requirement. Again, you could work 20 hours, you could study 20 hours, or you could volunteer. Right. There was a bunch of carve outs for folks with, dependents of special needs. So we had a lot of carve outs in there as well. But they just didn't want, I think they just didn't want anything that could possibly limit Medicaid expansion.
Gotcha.
And that was something that we felt strongly about, so we left it in there.
Now that waiver is not, you can apply for the waiver, but they're saying we don't even want you to apply because the federal government could say like, hey, Idaho, we're not into this, whatever. And then the Democrats presumably would get what they want, which is no work requirement.
Yes,
right? Like,
that's
it's
exactly
not
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still to be determined if that's going to even happen, but they didn't want that even in the bill.
Not even in the bill. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and I think at Carl Bierke, who was on the bill as well, he mentioned in committee in the Senate that, at some point you guys don't want any change at all, and we have to reform the program or we're not going to be able to keep the program.
Right.
So
right, because again, even if we say, hey, it's 40 million to 100 million, and you say, okay, well, look, 100 million isn't going to break us and we get all these benefits, you still have to look at the gross increase or the percentage. It's like, look, it's gone up 250% from the original value. Now, if we keep going up 250% or we don't check this growth, we're going to be in a real problem. Even if we can stomach 100 million, we can't stomach 500 million.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And at some point, because it's an entitlement program, we have to pay those bills. So what do we pull away from? Do we pull away from education? Do we pull away from, public safety? Where do we pull from? And so again, if you don't reform it, you could lose it. So that's the whole thought behind the bill.
Gotcha. Now, the SNAP program.
Yes.
This one was removing soda and candy from the SNAP, things that you can buy on the SNAP program. I saw a clip that I think was Texas or something, where the legislature was debating over whether to remove soda and candy. And the American Heart Association, to my understanding, came out against removing soda and candy from the SNAP program. It was like, what planet are we living on? Like, how does the American Heart Association see like a payday or a Snickers or a Coke as something that they need to defend? But this is what we're seeing roundly throughout the nation.
100%. And we're going to see it today as well. So again, we passed that out of the House. It's being presented, I think, right now in the Senate. And I'm obviously not presenting it, but I'm very comfortable with the sponsor over there. And so I think we'll be able to move that bill as well. But you're going to see a lot of the same, arguments like why is it a bad thing to pull away soda and candy, and soda being the number one commodity sold on SNAP nationally. So I'm pretty confident we'll be able to get it through, but we'll find out here in about an hour.
Dude, that's just so wackadoo.
It's crazy.
It is so wackadoo.
Yeah.
Like, not throwing shade on anybody who's low income, but like, good Lord, if the government of Idaho or the United States is supplying the base level of nutrition to stave off starvation and help people function again in society, Coke does not need to be on those lists of ingredients. Like, that's not a thing.
No. Well, and again, the WIC program, Women's Infant and Children Assistance Program, that one doesn't allow for soda and candy, and they have significantly better health outcomes. So that's something that, I think is a good talking point in that bill as well.
Okay, why is it that these are different requirements or different regulations? Like, they're both government provided nutrition programs, and like, great, some people need that.
Yeah.
But like, why have a disparity?
Yeah. And we actually looked at adding the WIC language to this bill. However, the WIC language is more restrictive, so it wasn't really the best path forward. We said, hey, let's just cut out candy and soda. Let's do that. And that's a good step forward.
What else, if I may ask, and you may not know off the top of your head, but what else specifically is more restrictive about the WIC program?
It's significantly more restrictive. Like, I've heard ground beef isn't available on the WIC program, which I don't understand why that wouldn't be. But it's just more restrictive, I guess, because they figure that, pregnant women, infants and children need a healthier diet. But I think we should do that for a lot of things. So, but we didn't want to make it too restrictive.
You can't do a meatloaf if you're like,
yeah, I know. I didn't understand that one either. Yeah.
Ground beef is like
super
hamburger
nutritious.
helper, man. Like,
no, totally.
Come on.
I agree. Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I got my wife a smash burger paddle. You ever seen those circle paddles? Yeah. So it's all stainless steel for Christmas. And she has been banging out smash burgers, like the best burgers I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And just like, and you put it between two pieces of parchment paper and smash it down so it doesn't stick. Holy God, man. They are, God bless America. They're so good.
Have you been to Wild Child?
No.
Oh man.
Is that
burger place?
Is that in Boise?
Yeah, it's in Boise.
Wild Child.
I think it's on the Bench. I don't really know the areas around here, but it's incredible, dude. Smash burgers. Solid.
Okay. The reason I asked specifically is because the Beef Council, the Beef Council of Idaho, is doing a burger battle in May. And I'm working with the Beef Council, the Boise Metro Chamber of Commerce, the Eagle Chamber of Commerce, and we're trying to get like the top 4 burger places within these geographic areas to then go and do episodes at and like showcase their burgers so that the Treasure Valley wins the burger battle across the state.
Yeah, get Wild Child on there.
Wild Child.
But if you come up north, you got to get Hudson's on there.
Okay.
So
Hudson's, I got to write this down. Okay. Is Hudson's, where's
Lane.
Hudson? Coeur d'Alene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Best burger in the state.
Hudson's. Okay. Coeur d'Alene. Okay. All right, dude, if I come up there, will you go?
100%, bro. Yeah.
Let's go to Hudson's together. We'll do the burger. We'll do the burger battle in Coeur d'Alene together.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Okay. All right. So again, that was a SNAP program. Talk to me about welfare for illegal immigrants.
Yep. So that bill came off of our floor yesterday. Basically, it's just restricting the amount of benefits that we allow for people that are here illegally. So we still have emergency use. So if somebody's needs an emergency medical, need, then we're going to cover that. Any public safety issues, we're going to cover that. However, we're going to remove the non-emergency medical as well as some social programs. And the whole thought behind that is we have a finite amount of resources in this state. And I believe that those resources should go, the safety net, the welfare benefits should go for people that are here legally. And we shouldn't be offering those benefits to people that are here illegally. With taking into account, again, we have the emergency there. We also have, public safety intact, left untouched. However, some of those other benefits I did think that we needed to pull away.
Have you had pushback on this?
Yeah. I mean, it was, I think we got 46 votes on it. So it wasn't unanimous. I think the pushback is, why are we restricting these things? Because, you do have the human element. However, it doesn't touch any kind of nonprofit organization or anything like that, which we have a number of. I work with several nonprofits around the country, actually, that I believe that's probably the way we need to have charity care, not necessarily take state tax dollars being used for those things. So again, that was the thought behind the bill, and we got it and sent it over to the Senate. So
Okay. Can we back up? You got to talk to me like I'm 5. When you're talking about welfare benefits for illegal aliens, it's my understanding that it's like, I've had family members on welfare before.
Yeah.
Right. And my specific family has been on, Medicaid and Medicare and things like that in the past. So like, I understand the need for, people who are going through a thing to have a base level of security. Help me understand the welfare benefits, because it was my understanding my family member had, she was not making much money at all. And she also had a child, and this was a very, very rough time for her in her life. And she did apply and she did get welfare benefits, but that was like, hey, you're not making enough money. You have paid taxes obviously in the past and all these things. So what are the benefits that come down the pipe currently in the absence of this legislation? What are the benefits that come down the pipe for people that are not U.S. citizens, but are saying like, hey, I'm not a U.S. citizen, but I'm not making very much money. So like, I should get these benefits that are designed for, that type of person.
You bet. Yeah. So you have like housing assistance, cash assistance.
This is for people that are not here legally.
Correct. Food assistance, non-emergency medical assistance. So all these different things are benefits that are currently intact that we said, hey, let's pull these off the table. Let's leave emergency. Let's leave public safety in there, but let's not be providing a bunch of benefits
like housing assistance.
100% for people that are here illegally, right? Like, I mean, if you broke the law to be here, we have to correct this at some point. A lot of folks, when I ran the bill, they're like, we're already paying for this. Like, why are we doing that? And it's because, we have stuff in statute that's been there for a long time and hasn't been addressed. And so this year we addressed it.
Okay. And Okay, so bottom line is, look, there are things like housing assistance, food assistance, and whatnot, and non-emergency medical already on the books right now today that if I'm an illegal immigrant, I can apply and presumably get these if I'm not passing an income threshold.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's the case. However, with House Bill 135, that would, remove those benefits. But the opposition was just saying, there's the human element. And I don't disagree with that, but we can use, which I believe that charity care is meant to be used from communities and, churches and nonprofits rather than making the taxpayers pay for that. So.
And like, look, I do not understand how all of the nuances of running a country or a state. I don't understand any of them, but frankly, this one to me, it's kind of like, wait a minute. It's still, when people talk about this stuff, and again, even hearing you say it, it's like, this doesn't really make sense to me. Like, if this is a program designed to, do we then just allow anybody who makes it over our border? It's like, you get these checks or you get these benefits, you get housing assistance, you get all these things. It's like, wait, you're not even here legally. Like,
right.
You're theoretically breaking the law. And I'm not, like, I think we need to have labor reform. We need to have, and I'm aware that in an ag state, you have a lot of labor that is unauthorized or unverified workforce. Like, okay, but we're also saying that's a workforce. Like,
right.
Those are people going out to work and benefiting the state, as selfish as it is. It's like, well, shoot, there is this benefit that I need to take into account. We're not saying like somebody comes over here, is not working, is not actually doing things that are benefiting the state of Idaho, and we provide them with these benefits on top of that. Like, I would love somebody to come in and explain to me why that makes sense to them. Because it's just like, I'm not equipped at understanding the nuances or benefit to the broader populace of why we should have that.
Well, and I think your next guest might speak to that a little bit. So
I should absolutely ask her.
I imagine she'll want to talk about it. So
wonderful. Yeah.
Again, I love Alana. We just disagree on like some political aspects, and I appreciate her heart, right, too. I believe that, the function of government should be for citizens that are here legally. Or
residents that are here legally.
Yeah.
Right. You don't even have to be a citizen.
Exactly.
Like, you got a green card.
Exactly right.
You got
lawful presence.
Right. Or a permanent work visa, like whatever it might be.
Lawful presence. That's all it said. Yeah. So, and I do believe that, like I said, nonprofits, churches, communities need to take a better, stronger stance on this and offer some of those charity care cases more so than just relying on, the state.
Did you ever see that South Park episode where they had the guys that came from the future that were like people from the future came back in time and they worked these menial jobs and they had put the money in like a rudimentary CD, but in 500 years in the future, the compounding interest made it like they were gajillionaires. So all of these people that had nothing in the future started time traveling back to South Park to like work these jobs that nobody wanted, and they would take their like minimum wage and invest, put it in the bank, and then they go back to the future future and they were like rich and rich. It was like, obviously, just kind of, and it's like, there is no right solution. You don't want to be terrible to the people that came from the future, but you also recognize that if everybody from the future comes here and these people were in fact working, they were like, they can get jobs. It wasn't even people that are like just coming back and just, you know, I don't know why I brought up South Park this terrible. We're moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an idiot on this one. Okay. So that's the recap. We had the Medicaid expansion reform. Then we had the SNAP program. Then we had the welfare for illegal immigrants. On to the new things, which are the DOGE program of Idaho. Talk to me about this.
Yeah. So DOGE of Idaho, my very close friend, Jaron Crane, brought the bill and started talking to me about it and asked me if I had help him with it and we'd work on it together.
Dude,
and so
put in a good word with Representative Crane for me.
Yeah,
I have attempted to get him on. I know he's a busy man. Like, holler at me, Representative Crane.
Yeah. Jaron would be awesome on here. Jaron's an incredible legislator.
Great.
Anyway, we
continue.
ran this bill. Basically, you know, we've seen a lot of the success from DOGE at a federal level, and I think we can do that here on the state level as well. So we set up this DOGE committee, which is 3 members from the House, 3 members from the Senate, 3 members from JFAC, which is the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee, and then 2 just citizen, that want to be involved in this.
Do we have our own Idaho Elon Musk? Is that a guy here? Is there somebody here like that?
Find one, right?
Find one. Yes.
So yeah, and essentially it's just looking for efficiencies. It's looking for, waste. What is the fraud, waste, and abuse here in our state? And what are some efficiencies and ways that we can do it better? And some of the pushback I've heard is, well, isn't that the job of the legislature? And I think it is. However, when we're here for 3 months and, we're slammed in our days, we're doing committee hearings, sometimes you can lose focus of some of those things and you can just get caught up in the busyness of it. Whereas this committee will just be focused on exactly those things, finding efficiencies, finding the fraud, waste, and abuse, and trying to cut that out.
Okay. One criticism on the national level of the DOGE program is that you have people like Congressman Russ Fulcher and Senator Crapo that are elected officials in senior places with either, doling out the money or finding the money. How are we going to fund these programs? The whole thing. And then you have this not outside, but, non-elected agency that comes through and starts slashing budgets or taking money away. And it's like, wait. Congress gave them this money. These are elected officials taking our tax dollars that represent us and they're, funding it. One of the big criticisms is like, wait a minute, you can't do this. These people passed a budget or they passed, whatever, policy it was that allowed them to fund this thing. What would be the role of the Idaho DOGE in respect to that? So if we attribute, say there's a budget that's passed and you got, let's say $30 million for water, like the governor asked for, right? $30 million for water research and furthering the water resource of the state of Idaho. Would DOGE be able to come through and be like, hey, I know the legislature didn't pass this, but we're going to take 5 off the top. You guys only get 25. It's like, wait, we passed this budget.
Yeah, no, they can make recommendations, right? So they'll be able to say, hey, and with 9 legislators on there, you could see some policy come from it, but they're not going to be doing any necessarily cutting. They're going to say, hey, we found this out. We think this should be, removed. So we're going to run a bill that removes this or whatever. So it's really kind of more research, really. You know what I mean? And then it will still have to pass through both sides of the.
That makes sense. Now, similar to JFAC, will the DOGE program or was the DOGE program proposed of having people from both parties? I'm not wrong on that, right?
No, you're not wrong. It doesn't specify in the bill, right? So yeah, you could have some minority members. It's just not specified. So the Speaker of the House will pick 3 from the House. The Pro Tem will pick 3 from the Senate, and then the chair of JFAC would pick 3 from JFAC. So
understood.
Yeah,
understood.
Left it to their discretion.
Is there anything that you would say like, hey guys, this should be your first target? Or is there anything that was really the motivating? It's like, let's get a DOGE Idaho to go after that guy.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, dealing with Medicaid all year,
sure,
right? We look at the improper payment in Medicaid, roughly around 20%. You're talking 20% of a $5 billion budget. So that's $1 billion.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And those are payments that are sent out improperly. Right. So whether that's eligibility issues or whatever, fraud, waste, and abuse, whatever that is, I think that's a good place to start, right? Because there's a big chunk of cash right there that they could look at. Okay, how are we missing this? Other states have got it down below 5%. So I think that's a great place to start. Let's find what improper payments are being made, why they're being made, and figure out a way to correct that.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. Last one here. You're running a bill here at the end that addresses essentially abuses against educators, public educators in the state of Idaho coming from students. And this one in particular deals with digital abuses. So there's a very, very upsetting and unfortunate program called, for instance, Cloth Off, where you can take a picture of somebody and the AI will remove the clothing on the person and portray an AI generated naked person that looks very like identical, right? And there are cases in Idaho of teachers being plagued by students doing this with them, which leads to, defamation, accusations of, inappropriate and, pornographic work on the side, all of these different things. You're running a bill to attempt to give another tool to school districts to address this. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I have some folks up in my district that are educators that have been kind of victims of this, right? Where kids will put some, really crude, vulgar, pictures or whatever of these teachers, as well as, some slanderous lies about them. Sure. And currently they don't have any recourse for that. So essentially this bill would say, okay, we find that somebody did this, a kid did this to any person in the school, actually, whether it's a teacher, janitor, whatever it is, facilities, they could go before the school board with the kid and the parent, and they would say, hey, did you post this? We have this timestamp that says you posted this, crude picture of Mrs. Johnson, and, we wanted to, have you account for that. And so they need to apologize. And then there could be suspension. There could be, any number
disciplinary
of
action.
Some sort of disciplinary action.
Yeah.
It's left up to the school board, so they can choose what they want to actually take on, but they don't have a tool right now in their tool belt to address these things. And again, a number of teachers have reached out saying hey, this is an issue. We need to address this because it can ruin lives. I have a couple of friends that coach football down here, and they've had that happen to them. And, they got thick skin, but the wife saw it, and, the kids saw it, and, it's hard on the families, and you have people leaving the profession of educating because of this kind of abuse. And so essentially this just gives the district, some sort of recourse to have some sort of disciplinary action.
Okay. Now, when you say right now, there's no recourse. So say my wife is an educator in West Ada, mm-hmm. and some misguided youth takes a picture of her, takes her clothes off using AI, posts some crude stuff. The school district of West Ada would not be able to call this person in?
Correct.
Or the county sheriff wouldn't be able to do anything? There's no criminal or educational recourse.
Yeah, you start talking criminal, maybe some defamation or some libel or something like that. So there probably is some recourse there. However,
but you have to go to the criminal level.
Exactly right.
When you're dealing with a 15-year-old, you're like, do we want to get this on the record, or do we want to just stop?
Right. Yeah. And obviously kids do foolish things all the time, right? Sure. I mean, I've been 15 too. So it doesn't, it's not criminal, right? It's just something that the school can use for some sort of disciplinary action against a kid that's doing something like this.
Gotcha. So in the absence of this, the school literally looks at us and they're like, look, this is something that's happening online. I don't like this, but I can't suspend this kid because he did something out of school. Yeah, we can call the sheriff,
right?
But the school has no tool.
Yeah, no tool currently. So That's what we're looking to address.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And again, essentially this would be, hey, school, you can do this or you cannot. But the bottom line is, if there is a problem and you're like, we need to actually take a stand, they have some play. They have a card to play.
Exactly right. Yep.
Gotcha.
Gives them that option.
Gotcha. Yeah. Representative Redman, I appreciate you. I know you're limited on time. Is there anything we've missed today that you want to hit?
No, man. Appreciate you having me back. We're going to have to do that hoodie up in Coeur d'Alene.
Oh my God, I'm coming for sure. I'm coming. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get people that are running for your city council too.
Okay, for sure. Yeah.
And if you have county commissioners or
absolutely.
Board,
we'll that'd be fun.
Thank you for what you're doing for Idaho. The session's going to be over soon. Thank you for taking the time to come in so many times this session. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you.